Hi Taurus, I hope that you're all doing well. We are here with a timeless reading. The first card that we have out is Seven of Pentacles. I'm also seeing the Empress. This can be a skill that you are investing in. This can be a love that you are investing in. This can be a project or something that you are creating, that you are investing in. Because we have the Empress here, I definitely say that there's a natural connection to what you are naturally in tune with, and that being part of this process for you. So this seems like something very in touch that you have going on here. And you can like the way that that feels. And it seems like things are moving forward. I am seeing the Devil. What this means is that things can be moving into a direction where, rather than this being something that comes from a place within you where it's like, it can be like, naturally I feel productive in this way, or naturally I have this to give, or naturally this is my level of energy. When we move towards the Devil, it can be pushing something, I think, further than its natural limits. And depending on the situation, like sometimes that's okay. Sometimes we can look at that and say, I feel like things are getting kind of out of touch, or I'm feeling like I'm pushing myself to be overproductive now at this point. And you can almost feel like the magic of something starts disappearing and it starts becoming about something else instead. And so this is just something to be mindful of when you're sort of moving along with things, because in the beginning it feels like with Seven of Pentacles and the Empress, this feels like a very natural way of doing things, but then it feels like when things start picking up speed, it can move into a direction of like, I'm not doing this because I feel like I have that within me and I feel like inspired to be doing this. It becomes about something else at that point, and it can be become something that you feel almost chained to or tied to in a way that feels unnatural to you. And so it's like that classic energy of somebody that does something for fun or does something because it just sort of like comes out of them as something that they have to offer, like a skill set that they have, and then it sort of becomes like, you need to be productive, you need to be productive, you need to be productive, and then like the inspiration starts sort of waxing and waning there, and it can feel like this is becoming more of an obligation than anything, and it's not feeling like just naturally what would be coming up from within me. But when things move in that direction, it's just recognizing that that's what's going on and then doing what you want to do about that, because that feeling of how things look in the beginning of this reading, that can always be restored. It's about recognizing when the Devil pops up, and this can be your own inner narrative. These can be the pressures that you put on yourself of like, it's not good enough, I need more, more, more. And then you get that sense of the feeling that's connected with something that initially would be, wow, I love to do this, that then becomes about, again, something else. You can check into that, and that can be sort of walked back into a place where you can reinstate the initial feeling surrounding this. So it is something that, like, once you go into that territory of the Devil getting involved, you can sort of take it back to where it was before, so it's not an issue. It can just be something that you realize that you do. It can be like really wanting to capitalize on things, but to the point where it feels unnatural, I feel, more than anything. For some of you, this can be a person that you potentially get involved with. Another way that you can see this be is that, well, I guess tying into everything else, this can be a chance to heal something here. I think to feel fully into the benefit of the Ace of Cups, I think without it going into the territory of the devil, which can be the difference between sort of like free love when it comes to what it is that you're involving yourself in versus something that you feel takes over. And then you're not sort of in charge anymore of what's happening. So it goes from sort of coming and going as you please and in a natural way, nurturing the things within your life to when, and this feels like in a specific area of your life, versus when the devil gets involved and it feels like that sort of goes out the window and it becomes about something else. I feel like a spending time reconnecting with yourself and sort of the old, reconnecting maybe with the initial purpose of this. It also doesn't feel like something brand new. When we have Seven of Pentacles and we have the Empress, I wouldn't say that this is like you just happen to like recently start something new. This feels like something that you've been involved with for some time, and that this is just like part of the process, and that things went into the territory, having the devil there, of becoming about something else. But then having the Ace of Cups feels like what's going to reinstate that old feeling that's connected with it, where something can become what you love again and what you feel inspired by again and what you feel like naturally creative. When it comes to what it is that you're giving, it's like it becomes fun again. It becomes something that you want to do again. It becomes something exciting again. It becomes something where, like, whether you like to or not, this is just the way that you express yourself and it's your avenue of creativity. It becomes that again for you, and that this, what's starting now, is the ability to reconnect with that, and that this is a part of you that you're familiar with, and it's a feeling that you know, and it will be like reconnecting with that. It feels though that there's going to have to be a disconnection from some other stuff though, and I feel more than anything like this can be a way of thinking. Learning about this, making the necessary change. We do have the Hierophant here because we also have the devil here. So we have Taurus here, we have Capricorn, we also have Jupiter, and we have Venus as well. I want to clarify the devil and see if we can get any more information about like how this is manifesting. Like, what does it look like when we go into that territory? How is that affecting you? How is that leaving you feeling? Mixed feelings, Seven of Cups. Maybe feeling a bit out of place as well. You can feel like you lose direction too. That can be part of this. It's like losing that instinct that you have, kinda, is what this feels like to me. Because you know when you're just naturally inspired to do certain things and go certain ways, and that inspiration sort of leads you, it feels like there was a like caring about maybe something having to do with the product of this, or like it's like when something becomes other than it was. I'm trying to think of a good way to sort of use to use an example to connect with this. With the devil, it can be about ways that we benefit, connected, maybe specifically with the product, like what something is producing and like what you're gaining by that, and what that is doing that you want. It feels like becoming like hungry for that, and then feeling like the fuel sort of dries up, because this is not how this is meant to function. Like, this isn't how inspiration works, or this isn't how motivation works, or this isn't how creativity works. It feels like that type of thing here. Or this isn't how relationships work. That can be part of this too. When we have the devil, it can be bringing you into a place where you can be like, do I love this, or am I just attached to this? And it can, yeah, it can be that. And it can be too like an attachment as well to what we perceive as being the results too, with the devil too, like what it's producing. So it's kind of like, rather than doing something because I feel inspired to do it, I'm doing it hoping for this specific end result. So rather than the end result being like a natural consequence of you doing what you love and connecting with what feels true to you, again, whether it be a person or it be an activity, whatever, it feels like being aware, I think, of what's motivating you to take action. Like, is it all means to an end, or is it I'm doing what I love and focusing on what I care about, and having this creative expression speak through the activities that I'm doing, and then what it produces is like that natural product. So it's not just about what is being produced here, what this produces, but it's about following your inspiration. And it's even more than just following your inspiration, because I see the Empress as being the fuel for us feeling called in directions with things, like why we even want to do things in the first place, and what is like naturally, I think, stirring within you, and how that wants to be expressed as being part of the Empress energy. It's like sort of standing at the easel and feeling like you're overflowing with inspiration, versus standing there and feeling like you have nothing, but you're like forcing yourself to do something. This feels like a time where you can be getting reconnected with that initial inspiration, so you can keep going with what you're doing and not go into a territory where you feel like, with the devil, can be forcing things. And then you can be like, why is this happening? What's going on? And ultimately it can leave you feeling out of touch. And it can be like that within your relationships too. Like, this can be something going on with a relationship with another person where you're like, I'm feeling like really out of touch here within the relationship. And it started because we had these things in common and we were really connecting with one another, and we were able to collaborate, and now it's turned into something that I feel like there's obligation or there's forcing that's happening. Now I'm feeling out of touch, or I'm feeling confused about stuff, or like, do I really want to be here doing this? It just feels like it goes in a direction where it's not because you want to anymore. It can be because of something else. It's not because you naturally feel inspired to. It can be because of something else. And this can be about like what you're gaining from it, what you perceive as like gathering from it, but focusing so much on that it's like, got to do anything to make that happen. And it feels like the process is getting lost along the way. Like, the context, I think, for the process can be getting lost along the way. However, things can go back to how they were before. I think that this is just finding your way back to where you were before things kind of got off track. So you reconnect with your vision that you may have like lost a little bit here. I think that this too can be inspiring growth, and it can be inspiring learning, and it can be inspiring change. You can even say that this is getting you to where you want to go when the devil is involved, but I feel like there's a better way to do this. Taking steps to follow your heart feels like helps you learn about the steps to take here. Okay, I want to read it. I want to read this looking at the sort of format for the reading in one way, and then I'm going to sort of change the spread a little bit and see what else we can get from this. So what I'm seeing initially is that we start off and I'm seeing an investment that you have going on. And what's connected with the investment that you have going on, which when we have sevens, it's going to be a time of reflection and thinking about things. And we have both Seven of Pentacles and we have Seven of Swords. Having Seven of Pentacles, it can be a time where we're thinking about the things that we currently have going on within our lives, like what we currently are putting our energy into. So it's kind of like this stuff where we have the play button has been pressed and it's the current stuff. Having Seven of Swords can be looking into potentially anything that would be sabotaging that. Saying, I've made these investments, I've done these things. Is there anything going on that would potentially ruin this for me or would potentially be harmful to this for me, these things that I've invested in? The next cards that we have are the Empress, and then we also have the Ten of Pentacles. So I would say that this is your ability to really cultivate what it is that you want, and that's very strongly there for you, that you can make processes happen and that you are capable of accomplishing what you want. This is just, I think, about seeing things through that you're doing and supporting the processes. So the things that you currently have going on, watering them in the way that they need to be watered, and eventually it will produce what you want it to produce, and that's part of the process. And seeing the Empress feels like you being very much capable of doing exactly that. Like you really can follow your heart. You really can just naturally, this is what comes from within you. Seven of Swords being connected with the Empress can be not seeing that as being possible. This can be like maybe sometimes not believing in the skill set that you really have, maybe not believing in your natural gifts and talents that you have and saying, I got to do it another way, when really you're very capable of doing that. Like you're capable of designing these things, you're capable of accomplishing these things, you're capable of playing out these things and giving this type of energy. The next cards that we have are Eight of Wands and we have Three of Wands. And so I'd say that very quickly, there's a lot of ground that's being covered. Very quickly, there's a lot of progress that's being made. The next energies that we have are the Devil and the Two of Cups. I think this is knowing the difference between what is the real Two of Cups for you, like what really actually belongs together versus what actually doesn't. What are you trying to like force together, or what are you trying to make fit together that those things don't actually belong, and then we're feeling out of touch because of that. And the Devil can really be the way that we force stuff, but from a place where there are important things needed in the mixture that are being forgotten. And it can be ways too that we manipulate things to go together. And then there's this feeling of something being inauthentic, like okay, maybe everybody's seeing those pieces be sticking together there, but there's just something fishy about it, is the feeling that I get from the Devil and the Two of Cups. Kind of like, even is that what it is that you want to be joined? Because when you see the Devil, it has those chains on it, but when you look at Two of Cups, it's like these natural pieces that are attracted. So this feels kind of like, these puzzles don't belong together, but I'm gonna super glue them together and then make them stick. And it's like, you can do it that way, but there will be a feeling of something being off here. And I think it's about recognizing that, like, as much as we can force those things or find ways to manipulate stuff to move together, like, those things, do they really belong? Because it doesn't, what naturally belongs sort of goes together, right? So having the Devil there feels kind of like behind the scenes manipulating something and being like, look at this, but then there being something off. And that can be felt even if we don't totally understand. It's something that I think beyond just these physical senses that we get that feeling about it, that something just doesn't go together. The next cards that we have are Ace of Cups, and we have Strength, and I'd say that this is the thing that's going to help things actually come together. Like, this is the real bonding. This is connecting with the thing that really does allow those pieces to come together, but you have to basically like scrape the super glue off, and then what you'll find is that what goes together will go together. Like, you don't have to manipulate it in that way. And I think part of this is about trusting that aspect of the process as you're going through it. Then this feels like that's what allows things to go back into a place of feeling like there's that natural progression of things where you feel like you've reconnected with that important thing that you need to be feeling in order to move things forward. This whole thing has been a learning process, and I think learning to where you have a hand in things, where not to have a hand in things, and I think like how you want to do things and what feels real to you, what doesn't feel real to you, what feels like it sort of has that essence that's meaningful to you versus what doesn't. And I think too, how to like more authentically get to where you want to go. I think by really allowing for the natural process to take place rather than feeling like the only way I'm going to get there is if I force it and I manipulate this and manipulate that and super glue this, and knowing that that can be really a lack of trust, I think, in the natural way that you would do this. And that's really what's going to cultivate what will truly be worth it to you at the end of the day, and feeling like you didn't have to force things in order to make that happen, that it really just did. It really just was, as a natural byproduct of you moving in the natural way through this and not forcing but flowing and staying in touch with that. And I think that this is helping you work through and helping you to problem solve, and I think helping you to open your heart as it is connected with what you currently have going on. So you can say there's problem solving that's happening connected with what you currently have going on. There are things being figured out. There are things being worked out. And that this is also about opening your heart to what you currently have going on too. And I think seeing the way that your mindset impacts things and the direction that they go in when things are either like overflowing and I think growing and going in the direction you want them to go in, versus there being a mindset here that I think is like regressive and a way of doing things. And I think it comes from that like not fully trusting yourself within this process and ultimately like what you're capable of, and that it is enough too. I think that's part of this as well. And I think too, like working with this part of yourself that may, we have pressures around us that can say, it has to be like this, it has to be like that. And it takes you away from your natural course of things. And I think that this is about allowing yourself to get back on where you're meant to be walking. And there's now an ability for you to reconnect with that part of yourself that you can feel like something else slipped in between. And this is about removing that, so those pieces can really come together. It feels like like this. If you have puzzle pieces that are meant to go together, they just naturally go together and they fit together, and then they bond and they form a unit together with one another, so it becomes one. When the devil is involved, it's like grabbing these two pieces that don't necessarily go together, putting super glue and then joining them together, and it's like not only do they not go together, but that super glue is technically between them, in between them. So even though it's like keeping them together, it's the super glue that actually isn't allowing them to be together. So it almost like defeats the purpose, and that's why it feels weird. And I think it's about recognizing that you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference between that real energy versus what is not that real energy. What's being forced together versus what's not. And that is really what's coming to light through this. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.